maintained that, and the district didn't go over budget. The project was finished timely. So that's what a construction manager can do, is to help assist an owner through difficult situations as an advocate and a team member. Both architectural groups are very good to work with, and they all participated as well. I shouldn't leave them out of the equation because they do, obviously.
Back on risk assessment a little bit, I guess you can tell that we are kind of advocates of construction managers. We don't want to tell you that there are not good general contractors out there. There are good ones out there. Rich got a good one for the high school rebuild. The benefit of the CM is you get to choose who you get to work with rather than going out to bid. This market is especially volatile. There's a lot of subcontractors that are just on the brink of going out of business. In fact, we had a major mechanical contractor go out of business on the high school right here. Luckily, he had a good bonding company. We were able to transition a new contractor without losing the beat, so we were very fortunate that way. What we are seeing and hearing in other projects around the area, schools, general contractors are hungry for work, subcontractors are hungry for work. The subcontractors go in at cost or below, the general contractor goes in at cost or below, and you can only stay in business so long doing that without coming up with some more money. So they start substituting inferior products, alternate products, cutting corners wherever they can. And I had an architect tell me that they hired another person to put on the job site just to make sure that all the correct materials were going onto it. So that's one thing that we have to be really careful of in our industry. We've gotten to the point where we, even on private projects, we'll joint check all of the contractors with their suppliers. We make sure that they give us a list of whoever they're buying their materials from, and we make sure that we give them a joint check, unless they want to provide their own payment and performance bond on the same line. It's getting that volatile out there.
Doug mentioned that it is important for you guys to know is bidding. When we bid a general, you select the low. That's by law, and that's like when we bid in our schools, $25,000 or more, we bid it, and you take the low. If you don't take the low, you take the risk of throwing them out, which will be a effort of infutility. You're not going to win. You can't justify that firm B isn't comparable because even though they don't do good work in your mind, do they do the work? Then you go to court, they'll hold you up. So that's the difference. These guys are hired like we hire attorneys, we hire architects on professional services, and you select them based upon their quality of work. That's the other nice thing to do that I don't have to have. I send out an RFQ, which is required. You guys will read that in your chapter, which means request for proposal, request for qualifications, and screen through those and say who fits our bill best. And in general, we're bidding it, we're getting one person's bid there, and the low is who we take, and take it or leave it. So that's another, nice thing that they do. They're going to talk a little bit, Doug is, on budgeting. I want to pass this sheet around. When we did our budget, as I told you, we revised this thing, and this was my budget. Doug's budget is long and breaks out things that he needs for their case by everything from trade to quantity. And so I used this, and I kept bugging Doug saying, I want you to update this for me, which was tough for him because that's like you guys in education, or us in education, saying, we want someone to do a lesson plan for us, and these guys look at a lesson plan, that's foreign. This is foreign to him, but this was my method, and I never got into knowing how to do other budgeting. So this was used, and they'll talk about why we bid the thing the way we did, but we bid this, and it was due to their ingenuity that we did it with add alternates, and they'll tell you what that is. But you can see down here, our add alternates totaled 1.4 million. And then we designed this with the fact that if it came in under budget, we'd add more rooms there. If it came in over budget, they'll show you where that is. We had 10 classrooms that wouldn't have occurred. That gave us huge options for the board to say, here's where we can be, but here's where we aren't. All these lights you see on those fields were add alternates. That turf out here on this field that will occur in there was an add alternate. And you can see those listed down here. They were there, and those coaches knew up front, so that their expectations weren't there that they were going to get all those. If it came in under budget, great. If it didn't, then they didn't get them. So this will give you kind of an initial sheet that they prepared, and it shows, you know, that if we took all the ad alternates, Doug figured out we'd be a little over budget, 52.7 million. We ran 51.9, so he said that up front. Probably aren't gonna get all those ad alternates if we come in the best. Well, the bid came in better than the best, and so it gave us an opportunity to do all those and more.
Thanks to a good bid market.
That's really.
I think everybody's pretty familiar on what's happened the last 4 or 5 years with housing and everything else. 6 or 8 years ago, I mean, prices were steady as could be. You could pretty well count on where bids were gonna come in, where material pricing was gonna be. And then, you know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, things started creeping up, and you couldn't get steel people to hold their prices more than 24 hours. And so bidding became extremely risky, iffy. You never knew what was gonna happen, so that's when we started seeing a lot of alternates, just in case, you know. So what we always do is we wanna start out with your full wish list. Everything you want in your school, let's put it out there. Let's put a cost to it and see where it comes in. If we think that maybe money's gonna be a little bit of an issue, then let's prioritize. Let's take the things that are most important, make sure they're in there. Things that we can live without, we'll put a little bit further down on the list. That way, if prices do come in over or under, then it makes it very flexible. Canyon Ridge High School and Twin, we got caught when the market was at its worst. And so they didn't get nearly the bang for the dollar that we got here at this project, when pricing dropped way down and everybody was hungry, and timing is everything.
So you budget with the market at the time, and this was being budgeted, like Rich mentioned, for a couple of years before the project was even, the bond was even floated. And so this is one of the projects that it's delightful to be involved with, because the market came back, the district is getting a great value for the money that's being spent. So the district has an opportunity to put in things that weren't even considered early on in the project. There are some things that some big fans, you'll see some different things that have really aided and made this building the gold standard for probably in the Northwest for what we're getting. And being able to work with the district as a construction manager, we're able to get pricing, we're able to do research, find things, work with the architects, get all these things put together, get them priced, and the district can look on, okay, I've got this much left in my budget, I'd like to do this, no, I wouldn't want to do this. And so the choices are all there. All the choices are on the table, and the district can choose to use or take any of them that they would like. And like Doug mentioned earlier, there aren't any, the construction manager, we don't choose to mark any of those up, so it's the actual cost to have it installed by the contractor doing it. There's not an additional layer of markup that the district has to absorb.
Sorry, question. So, do districts generally, are they kind of watching and monitoring the market and kind of taking, you know, strategic planning in a sense, like, yeah, it'd be better to hold off a couple years on a project, or is kind of different philosophies between districts as far as need?
I'm sure there's a lot of different philosophies. I think some districts don't pay attention to much of that. Some are very, very tuned in. Dr. Bausch could probably answer that. He's probably more tuned into the districts.
I think that probably no. Unfortunately, you know, if you, like the stock market people, they watch that, understand what it is. As superintendents, we don't understand what like these guys do, so we're gonna pick the advantageous time to get it passed.
Okay.
And then we deal with whatever falls, the chips, whether it's high or low.
Okay.
We knew the timing on this was that we wanted to pass it at a certain time, because we know that bid climate is better than bid, you know, in the winter. So I kept telling these guys, I want this thing bid during the winter, because everything I read in textbooks like you do tells me that $10 a square foot, and they probably would not agree because they do it scientifically, but $10 a square foot, we can gain by bidding these things during the winter when people are hungry. So I said advantageous, we're gonna run this to where it is bid winter time bid, and that's when they bid it. And I still think, you know, whether it was $10, I don't know, but it does help, and if you can do that under that accord, yeah, that'll help you.